A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, it is a period of catfighting for dominance. Two nefarious, toxic creatures wrestle for control of a lost soul in a glittering city of idolatry. And they look really hot while they're doing it, even while doing Looney Tunes levels of violence to each other. Death Becomes Her involves depictions of cartoonish body horror, alcoholism, and intimate partner abuse, both verbal and physical. Please proceed according to your needs and comfort level. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed therein are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of their employers. Hello there, and welcome back to 6 Degrees of Star Wars, the podcast where we explore all the ways George Lucas's flagship franchise surrounds us, binds us, and penetrates us in the landscape of cinema. I'm your host, Sam Marchioni. Joining me today, Shamila Karanakran.
I stomach this movie much better than Substance, not just because of the gaping hole in it.
River Lane.
I am indeed being shipped off to the morgue after a fainting spell.
And Emil Lewis.
I can neither confirm nor deny that any aspects of this film were based on my life and death.
We are here to talk about Death Becomes Her, the 1992 winner of the Academy Award for Best Picture. Oh, actually, hang on. I just upgraded the droid. Let me see if I have this working.
Oh, Sam, please hold. Running an Oscars patch. Greetings, I am IDR-60, the biggest night in Star Wars connections. Point of intersection found. This is a degree 4. Sonia Jackson played a checkpoint attendant in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Additional Oscar material found. Death Becomes Her won for Best Visual Effects at the 65th Academy Awards.
Thank you, Ire. So, is this anybody's first time watching Death Becomes Her?
Yes.
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh. Okay, so we have two newbies here. I have seen this movie about 904 times.
I saw this movie like once. My mom told me about it, and she told me that it was terrible.
Your mother has no culture.
This is the same woman who also showed me My Fair Lady because I kept saying, just you wait.
Okay, your mother does have culture.
You hear that, Mom? You have approval. But anyway,
That's what I do.
At the very least, I am very familiar with this film's director, Robert Zemeckis, who, among other things, was at one point rumored to be somebody who was going to be directing the prequels. And it was indeed revealed George Lucas asked him to do this, and he said, "No, George, this is your baby, you've got to do this." Which,
honestly a little surprising, because Robert Zemeckis has now struck me as, like, as he's gone on in his filmography, he is very much the guy who wants to play with the newest cinematic tool.
Yeah, and that is also very much George Lucas.
Yeah, so I get why they're buddies. But I also, like, he does a lot of genre fiction slightly to the left, and Star Wars is not quite that.
You mean like kind of askew trope-wise, not necessarily like politically?
Well, first of all, Roger Rabbit is indeed an incredibly leftist film. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, but then you have like Forrest fucking Gump.
Right. But the thing is about Robert Zemeckis is he's wildly inconsistent, if nothing else.
Yeah,
Wait, this is also the guy who did Back to the Future, right?
All
Yes.
3 parts of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And Castaway. And that string of Uncanny Valley photorealistic motion capture films.
we don't talk about those.
No, but I feel like we kind of have to talk about those because
Okay,
that's
fine.
one of the reasons to be glad he didn't direct the prequels. Like, people can shit on Jar Jar all they want, but imagine Jar Jar in Polar Express style animation.
Oh,
no.
God.
Fuck
Why
that
would
shit,
you-
I'm out. No thanks.
Why would you say such things, Sam? There is now an alternate timeline
Where it's happened, yes.
That timeline existed from the second George asked Robert if he wanted to do the project.
Yes, but now you made us aware of
Aware
it.
of
and
it.
quantum speaking, you made it exist.
like Evelyn with Brackakuni.
God, I love that movie. So, one thing that always strikes me about this movie is I literally always forget that it's a Robert Zemeckis movie until, like, I see his name in the credits every single time. Because this movie feels so violently like a Frank Oz movie that in my head I see Death Becomes Her as a Frank Oz film. Even though it's supposedly a Robert Zemeckis film.
See, I got the 1-2 punch of I went into this movie as blind as humanly possible.
Oh my god.
I knew Meryl Streep was in it. I knew that it had some, like, groundbreaking for its time special effects. Thanks, Cinefix. And I knew that it had been turned into a musical. And then I got hit with the 1-2 punch of... directed by Robert Zemeckis, Bruce Willis.
Yes! Especially since kid.
And literally my second note in is, I'm already being bodied because what do you mean Bruce Willis is in this?
I mean,
so good in this.
He's fantastic. Like, he doesn't look or act at all like Bruce Willis.
And he was
normally
really
does.
excited to do comedy. Like, I remember the director saying that he would come in really early and, like, do all these bits. But you also have to remember that Kevin Kline was originally supposed to play Ernest, but he dropped out.
And that fact alone, learning that Bruce Willis's character is supposed to be played by Kevin Kline, makes that role, like, 10 times about 10% more sense.
Yes. We are Kevin Kline fans in this house, but oh my god, Bruce Willis playing a Kevin Kline character is fantabulous.
Yeah, but for me, like, it feels really weird because for me, Bruce Willis is not a comic actor. He keeps trying, God help him, but for me, he's very much like...
John McClane.
He's not even John McClane. He's a bit like John McClane, but he's more... To me, the character he most resembles is, like, his character in Red, which is a movie that happened and it exists, and I have a slight fondness for it, even though it is very much a 2 p.m. on a Saturday movie.
Oh, I have opinions on Red, and they are opinions that drove my girlfriend at the time I first saw that movie up the wall.
It is very much a 2 p.m. on a Saturday movie where you, like, if there's nothing else on and it's on cable, you'll watch it.
Yeah, and it fucking kicks ass. Like, it's not a good movie, but it's an excessively entertaining.
Yeah, but, like, for me, like, Bruce Willis is sort of suited to, like, that sort of style of comedy where it's very much like he's gonna be sort of like the heart straight man in a team of absolute bug nut fucking whack jobs. And he's gonna be able to get a quip off every once in a while, but he's not, like, gonna go big or go home.
Yeah.
He does kind of get to do the straight man stuff in this movie just because Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn are being so
having it up.
absurd.
They are subsisting off of chewed scenery. But it should be noted, Bruce Willis was actually known as a comedic actor before Die Hard.
Oh yeah,
Moonlighting.
I know Moonlighting
action.
exists. I am a student of television.
Okay, just making sure that the listeners know that we know the lore.
We know the lore. Do not cite the deep lore to us. We weren't quite all there when it was written.
Yeah, I was a baby when this movie came out, which means many of you weren't alive.
I was not alive.
When did this movie come out again?
92.
92.
Yep.
I was 2 then.
Someone's older. Someone's older than me on the podcast. Okay.
Yes.
Shami is very cute, so people often think she is younger than she is.
Yes, I have a very high voice.
Nice.
I am the actual baby of the pod.
I think Sid might have you beat.
Yes.
But, like, that's sort of the age gap where, like, it doesn't really matter. We still have the collective power word age.
Yeah. And let's face it, we're all basically 7 mentally.
Truly.
Really?
I didn't text my mother the other day being like, I'm having a day where I mentally feel like I'm 4.
Yeah, I have 3 modes, and they are just a 7-year-old, a, like, early 20s bitch, and a tired old man named Hiram. Those are
I respect that.
Those are the 3 sides of me as a person.
Wild.
We are wildly off topic. So sorry, Sam.
Well, he's 71 years old.
It is kind of par for the course on this.
And also, this movie is about aging.
Yes.
Like, let us be clear. I think I've
Yeah.
said that twice already.
This movie is about aging. It is something, the violence inherently to female friendships.
The straights who are not necessarily all straight, because the second Madeline and Helen were on screen together, I just went, nemesis. You can't tell me that these two weren't bitter exes with how they're fixated on each other. Like, you see the way that Madeline was vamping herself up when she heard that Helen was at the door, and then the two of them are gay panicking when they first see each other, and they're getting their lipstick all over each other.
Oh, yeah, no, there are DEFCON levels of Sesby and Lex going on between the two of them.
I would not be surprised if Megan Hilty and Jennifer Simard are playing that up even more in the Broadway show.
God, I want to see that show so bad. I have not heard a single song from it. But I love this movie. I love this movie so.
Unfortunately, we had to record this before the full cast recording dropped, so we've only seen like snippets of it, like for the gays.
Yes.
Like, I haven't even seen snippets. I want to see the show. Like, either listen to the soundtrack, maybe, but I would ideally, in the ideal world, I would see the entire show fully blind.
Someone do a pro shoot, please.
Someone comp me and just send me to see it.
Pro shoot all the theater.
When this movie opened on a musical number, I thought the whole damn thing was going to be a musical. And I was immediately like, okay, yeah, I see how it got adapted. And then it wasn't a whole ass musical. And I was like, oh, damn.
God, yeah, that opening number is so good, though, because it's so bad. It is so artistically terrible.
It's a very funny, so bad it's good kind of thing, and you're wondering what the fuck is this musical about. But I also have a hard time imagining that it's bad enough that people will get up and leave. Like, if you've paid the tickets to see... Let's say you got tickets to see Audra McDonald in a musical that turned out to be an absolute piece of shit, you are still staying because it's Audra fucking McDonald.
Well, so the musical itself, so I only just looked this up today, is that it was a musical of Sweet Bird of Youth, which was a Tennessee Williams play.
It's about an aging actress who pines for her lost youth.
Yeah, so I didn't know this until about, about an hour ago. So, first of all, very foreshadowing with all of the subtlety of George Lucas, which I appreciate. But also, it's also, one of those things, it's like that Simpsons episode with Streetcar, the musical.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I love the idea, for me, just the idea of making a musical out of a Tennessee Williams play is so fucking funny. I don't know if anyone's ever actually done it for, as a serious endeavor in real life, and I kind of hope not, because I would just laugh the whole way through. Again, my brain was damaged by watching 2 episodes of The Simpsons every single weeknight during middle school. Thank you, British television schedules. So, anyway, that's a lot of my references here.
No, but you do have a point with, Sweet Songbird of Youth. With the Tennessee Williams play, it's supposed to be ironic thing, especially with, since the whole point in the film is about aging. Well,
yeah.
The big twist in the original play is that the actor that Madeline's supposed to be playing, the actress that Madeline's supposed to be playing, she isn't actually pathetic and fading. Her latest film gets best reviews she ever had, and she has a magnificent comeback. It's only when she's looking at her own aging face in close-ups that leads her to think about retiring. And in the end, she's able to re-embrace her career, while her companion is the one left losing his beauty and more. And, well, Madeline ends up the way the companion goes.
Yeah, so Madeline basically does not learn a lesson from the show she stars in.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they originally wanted to do Sunset Boulevard, but then Andrew Lloyd Webber sent them a cease and desist.
That's...
She only wishes she could be Gloria Swanson.
I mean, that is another in the vein of, gosh, aren't women old? And isn't women getting old hilarious and unnerving and creepy?
I don't think Sunset's supposed to be hilarious. Having seen the movie, at least, Sunset's whole pitch is the tragedy of her aging.
Yeah, but, it also... It can and does get played for camp and for comedy. There's a reason, all right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up, has become a meme.
Man, I totally forgot that came from that. That's how much of a meme it is.
Well, that's a different movie. I got thoughts about that, but that's a different movie.
Yeah, that's a tangent for not talking about Death Becomes Her when we should be talking about Death Becomes Her.
Yeah.
I say as the person who has gone on about 18 completely unrelated tangents.
It has to
already.
be one of us. It might as well be you, since I'm coming in a little bit underprepared tangent-wise.
Okay, so for the viewers, what is the basic plot, and who are we following throughout this movie?
Wow, how dare you keep us on topic like this?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure if we have one consistent through line character, because initially it kind of seems like it's gonna be Helen, with the whole Helen takes Ernest to see Madeline under the express purpose of making sure that Madeline won't steal this one from her, which, babe,
Ellen, you dumbass!
Yeah.
you kind of did this to yourself. But then, we have those really gross scenes of her like binge eating and
the
fantasizing
cat lady
about
fat phobia
killing.
double feature, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why can't
and
there be a movie where weight gain equals that you're happy and successful?
Because we live in a fat phobic misogynistic society, Shami. Next question.
Yeah, but yeah, so Helen's, I would say, like the opener, I guess the prologue, if you want to be weird about it, of the movie.
Yeah, they do a double time skip.
Yeah,
last week we had too many endings. This time we have too many
beginnings.
Yeah, the prologues are about Helen, or she's the POV character. Then for, I guess, maybe the first act of, I think the rest of the movie is basically, the first act of the movie is then around, how am I blanking on the name here?
Madeline.
And then, the second and third act are about Ernest. So it's a movie that jumps around a bit. Although I will say, despite the kind of fat phobic stuff at the beginning, I do think the way that the kind of prologues are layered and introduces the plot, I think, it just immediately it does a very good job of immediately establishing, right, these are the main characters. These are their relationship with each other. This is the plot. This is the blah 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 blah. And that, I think it does a really good job of just kind of getting all of that essential information out of the way in 10 minutes. I think it's a very well paced opening.
Yeah.
If we were to do it today, probably use some different imagery, different tropes, but the way it tells the story works very nicely.
Yeah, I find it funny that you guys thought that Helen was the person we were supposed to be following in the opening, because literally until we got to the scene where she was being hauled off by the police, I was fairly certain we were supposed to be following Madeline in that opening.
Yeah, especially since we open with her.
Yeah, it's so very clearly Mad's story.
Sorry about that cough.
Until we get to Helen's revenge scheme, and even then it's still mostly Madeline's story.
It's a movie that jumps around.
Yeah, it kind of jumps around, but it's also kind of not balanced, because I defy anybody to say that the lasting impact on this movie is anything other than Meryl and Goldie just going at it.
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, this movie both feels like it. I understand how it became a camp classic. I understand why people love it. I also get the sensation that it was torn to shreds in editing.
Well, that's because,
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a completely different script. We have the original script right here. There's a bunch of deleted scenes. There was a whole character that got cut.
Thank you, archive.org.
Truly. But because when I watch this movie, especially with the Marioshka doll opening, it feels very much like there's a quarter of a movie that's supposed to be in here that we just glossed over because we decided it was slowing the pace down too much, so we gutted it and kept only what we needed, which is why we do a double time skip.
I mean, honestly, I think it works to the film's benefit. Having not read this original script, I have it open on my phone, but I haven't actually looked at it more than a cursory glance. I think the there was a lot that was cut, but to me, I feel like they kind of boiled the film down to what they actually needed, and I think they got a very good and kind of concise story out of it.
It's a bit uneven, though.
Oh, for sure. But, so is life.
I do love the split diopter shot in The Office, where they're first introducing Mads to, what she's going in for this, appointment for.
Yeah.
That's a great shot. Love it very much.
I do love, again, I don't love the, kind of fat suit that Madeline Kahn's wearing in that scene. But good God, the group
Goldie
there.
Hawn.
Goldie Hawn.
Oh my God, Goldie Hawn. I have this.
If Madeline Kahn had been in this movie,
So I have this terrible habit of never getting Goldie Hawn and Madeline Hawn straight. Make a gay joke out of that, if you will. But so I'm always like getting them confused, no matter what, no matter who I know. But anyway, I love the scene of the group therapy. Or is there anything you want to talk about, Madeline? And then everyone starts screaming. It's so fucking funny.
what makes it hard for me to see, like, Helen as a lead is then she disappears until that big reveal and we're following Madeline. So
Yeah, no, she's
it's
only the
almost
lead of the
like-
prologue.
oh my God, to bring it back to the substance, it's almost like we should have a stylized title card for each of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be nice. That's what honestly, every movie needs some more stylized title cards. Again, I have not seen Substance. I just like this as a concept.
Neither have I. But you want to know what this movie tonally feels like to me?
Hmm.
This movie, handshake Clue, handshake Rocky Horror.
Handshake, Tales from the Crypt.
Well, Tales from the Crypt makes sense because Robert Zemeckis was also doing it at the same time.
Yeah, and we have 3 actresses from Tales of the Crypt. There's Isabella Rossellini, who plays Liesl, Mary Ellen Trainor, who plays Vivian, and Michelle Johnson, who plays Anna.
Yeah, this is
God.
just an expanded Tales of the Crypt episode. But in terms of, like, tonally, like, when I'm watching this movie, to, like, get myself into a groove where I was, like, having fun and enjoying it on its level, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is just, like, slightly grosser Clue, or, like, a slightly more straight Rocky Horror. Yeah, okay, I see where we're going.
Isabella Rossellini.
Oh my God.
Isabella Rossellini in this movie.
That boob tape is doing its job.
God, the first time I saw this movie, I was like 11, and the Isabella Rossellini scenes changed the course of my life.
I forgot how much she looked like Ingrid Bergman. They have the same face.
For the listeners who have not seen this film, Isabella Rossellini is introduced wearing no top. You don't see boob per se, but she just has a lot of necklaces
The boob
on.
tape is doing its job.
Yes.
Which is it's preposterous that Lancome fired her for being too old for face of makeup line, and this was just 3 years after the film.
Oh my God.
My God. That adds so much subtext.
You don't do that to Nepo babies of that caliber. And yes, listeners, remember, Nepo babies have always been a thing. There are just more of them now.
That's because there's more people. More people to have babies.
Not to be internet pilled on Maine, and Sam, you can cut this. When they first revealed the serum, and it's like neon pink, and they pull the top off, and there's that little bit of like huff of smoke. Definitely thought it was going to be an aphrodisiac, and not an immortality potion.
I'm more interested in knowing how that vial stood up on its own, especially with that diamond point at the bottom of it.
She literally calls it magic, dude.
It's magic. We don't have to explain it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then is Liesl running this whole organization? I mean, she said she was in her 70s, but Greta Garbo was also one of her clients. It's like, there is a lot of backstory that's missing from it that was in the original script. Like,
Yeah, she was originally going to be older. There was going to be an implication she might have been Cleopatra.
Which,
Whoa.
I have a thing about the Ankh on the box for the potion. It's Orientalism of it all yet again. Stop doing that. They already did it with, like, Queen of the Nile in Twilight Zone. It keeps popping up.
Also, debatable whether or not Cleopatra was even white, so there's that.
Yeah,
I mean, she was Greek.
She was Greek, but there could have been a mix of something.
They didn't have a concept of white people until the Portuguese came up with it in the 15th century.
God damn it, Portugal.
Yeah.
But I also, like, you know, again, if she's not the first proprietor of this here serum, you know, like, she's just an underling to she answers to somebody else.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe she's a Time Lord.
No.
No, we're not. We were doing so well. We can't bring Doctor Who into this.
No!
The first hearty laugh this movie got out of me was indeed hucking this Meryl Streep dummy down the stairs for like 3 minutes. The never-ending stairs with that fucking dummy.
It's really good.
Honestly, the gag that gets me is the teetering on the edge of the
The
stairs
stair
for
with-
an
they do it
extremely
twice.
long time.
Yeah, they do it twice, and they do it twice really well.
Yeah.
She's just
Yeah.
This is
balanced.
like a live
She's so
action-
well balanced. This is a
Mhm.
cartoon.
This is a Looney Tune.
This is practically a Tex Avery cartoon.
And a lot of the effects hold up really, really well.
Yeah, which is it's always like CG effects. Like I'm not anti CG, unlike basically everyone who talks about film on the internet. But like I will say they do have a tendency to age more poorly.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tool in the toolbox.
When CG effects age badly, you know it. I mean, I guess you do with everything else. I mean, we as kids we used to make fun of the skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think this is a great example of an early 90s movie where the CG is, I wouldn't say immaculate, but like basically holds up with today's for the most part.
And this was also the first film that used photorealistic human skin software. So that those scenes where their skin is turning younger, that's part of that.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are parts of it that are a little weird, like that bit where Madeline, like, pulls her head back up and...
Her neck is so long!
Yeah, and they actually try to use practical effects for that. From what I remember,
they literally broke her neck.
They were trying to use an animatronic head, but it didn't translate well, so they decided to use CGI.
Well, yeah, if an animatronic head could replace Meryl Streep, then we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah.
They truly all should just be in one fucked up toxic polycule.
Oh my god, why would you want to do that to Ernest? Hasn't he suffered enough?
Because I don't really like Ernest. Next question.
I mean, fair.
No,
They do outright say Ernest is a Republican at one point in the movie. But But this was the early '90s when it was in fact possible, when it was still possible to be a registered Republican and not completely bananas. Possible. I didn't say likely. I said
Reagan, but...
I have not trusted a Republican since Reagan and even before then.
I do not trust Republicans.
Nixon.
Look, I'm saying possible. I didn't say likely. We work in the realm of probability here. This is a fantasy film, after all.
I do get the sensation from the cat fight to end all cat fights.
So good.
I was cackling at the bit where Madeline, she threw like her broken shovel through the hole in Helen's stomach, and she says, "Yes, no, damn."
Yeah, that honestly, I'm gonna be real. I think that like yes, no, damn bit is possibly my single favorite bit of Meryl Streep's acting in her entire career. I just think that's so good.
This whole movie does feel like the embodiment of like Meryl Streep going, okay, let's do a silly one, you know, like as she's taking photos, you know.
Meryl Streep is really fucking funny, and it's always disappointing that people forget about that.
Yeah.
Apparently she didn't like filming this a lot, like she decided no more special effects after this, and I wonder if she and Ian McKellen ever get together and talk about that, because I'm now thinking about Ian McKellen just kind of sitting sadly on the Hobbit set alone.
Oh.
Meryl Streep should do more comedy. I think she's been typecast in dramas for too long, and she's just so funny.
We gotta have a good comedy first, and there hasn't been one of those in
a while.
Stares off into the middle distance.
Yeah, okay, like on the big screen, yeah, you're probably right there. I mean, there's been good comedy bits in non-comedic films recently, but I don't know if I've gone to see like a feature-length comedy and like thought it was good. Although I also don't think I've gone to see a feature-length comedy in forever.
I do appreciate that the drink they try to give Ernest at the end of the movie looks like a quintuple of whiskey.
It does.
That's just too much.
Considering how much he's been drinking for the film, that's probably his usual.
We've brought you some breakfast, and then just has this fucking tankard of whiskey is really good.
At this point, I'm also very willing to be forgiving of Ernest, because his brain is cooked.
Yeah.
His brain is absolutely cooked. Like,
flapping around like a headless chicken, like screaming at all the dead bodies coming back.
I don't think the man has relaxed since 1978, so I think we can give him a little bit of slack, even for the Republican thing, because I think his just brain kind of stopped.
Even if he left Helen for Madeline, he did kind of bring it on to himself, but considering all the stress he's been under for the entire marriage.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We can cut him some slack, I guess.
Like, he's the closest thing to a sympathetic character out of the main trio in this movie. And even then, he only really becomes more sympathetic toward the ending as he kind of realizes how much his life has been fucked up and how bad his options are.
And he decides, no, I don't want to live forever. What am I going to do? What if I get bored? What if I break apart and fall apart and everyone's going to die around me while I stay the same? No, I'm out.
Yeah, I love that bit, personally. Like, I have a very... At the risk of saying something not funny, I have a very complicated view on death, but, like, I really like that bit with his character.
Yeah.
There's sort of three schools of immortality. There is there's the Hunter of Artemis immortality, which is you never age and you won't die unless you get actively, like, you're not gonna die of natural causes, but if you, like, get shot, you're gonna die. There's this form of immortality where, like, you'll live so long as you don't fuck yourself up, but you fuck yourself up, you're screwed. The Jack Harkness school of immortality, which is you can get shot in the fucking head and just put yourself back together and keep standing. Maybe you age, maybe you don't, hard to tell.
Well, there's also the I don't know what you would call it, but there's also the form where you have age but not.
Yeah,
so
that's
immortality with age.
That is arguably the least fun.
That is the least fun, and that's why it's the one that's least used.
I literally don't think I've heard of that one in anything outside that one Greek mythology story about the guy who turned into a cricket.
Yeah, because it's not sexy. That's why it's not used. Right?
Yeah, because the other option is the vampire. Where, like, you are invulnerable, you will never die, you will never age, unless, of course, some dude gets a fence post.
Yeah, and then there's also, like, the Eastern, like certain Eastern views of, like, what it means to be immortal, where you don't... Like, you do age and die, but then you reincarnate over and over again, so really, it's just been one big cycle.
Yeah.
See, reincarnation, I guess it counts as immortality, but it's immortality with some extra steps.
Yeah. So. And you don't always keep your memories.
And also reincarnation is Reincarnation is like a subset of the immortality question where you start debating on whether or not you get to keep your memories when you reincarnate, or if it's like one of those things where like you get half your memories and then something triggers the rest of your memories. And you're like,
hang on, I think I have about 1,500 fanfics on AO3 covering this exact topic.
Okay. Jesus. I mean, I'm literally rereading Mort by Terry Pratchett right now, so they're like basically all of these are touched on. Well, okay, some of them are, but like a lot of these questions are slightly touched on in that book.
But then, not to skip ahead, we have the true immortality, for your legacy lives on in your children and your grandchildren.
And the people around you. Because I'm pretty sure, like, he also said, I remember that he did set up, like, foundations for, I think it was, like,
kids.
It sounded like there was, like, a bunch of them.
Yeah, like a bunch of them. So, legacy through philanthropy.
And, of course, his funny little stories about the living dead in Beverly Hills.
The thing that makes the ending of this movie sort of buck wild to me is, like, you get to the point where, like, the girls have all fixed themselves up and they're calming down and they're like, oh shit, we gotta figure out how to keep Ernest around. And I paused the movie and I'm like, the fuck do you mean there's 20 minutes left? Like,
yep.
Like, you're like, okay, we've hit a falling action, kinda. Because our duo are together. The third guy's, you know, getting the innocent bystanders getting the fuck out of there. You know, no big deal. And then you pause the movie and you're like, why the fuck is there 20 minutes left? And then, you know, the mad dash scramble through the castle, the most Rocky Horror bit of it all.
And of course, they had to get Elvis to show up briefly.
Yeah.
And Andy Warhol
and
Marilyn Monroe and Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
All just conveniently dressed in their most iconic garments.
Well, I mean, come on. If you're going to, like, an Immortals party, you should dress in your most iconic garments, because if there's any Immortals who are new, they will immediately be like, oh, hey, cool. That's the guy I know. I'm going to schmooze. Although, we all know this film is not canonical, because Elvis was not there. Elvis is currently working at a burger lord in Des Moines. Or is that just a Good Omens joke? Sorry.
We don't talk about Good Omens here.
Yes, we do. Well, I do.
Listen, Neil
We don't talk about Neil.
Neil is
They took the wrong Good Omens author!
Yeah.
Neil is on, like, permanent timeout.
He is, but Terry will never be.
Terry's on a good list.
Yes.
Yeah, there is, like, my general consensus with this movie is I don't think I'd ever rewatch it. I liked it okay, but I don't think I'm ever going to rewatch it. And there is something compelling about it. Would it be more or less compelling with female writers? Who's to say?
I think it would be. I think, honestly, that is probably the biggest flaw with the movie. I think this movie, like, if this movie were to be remade, and I wouldn't want to do that, just mainly because that would mean recasting the leads, and no, they play them too perfectly. But if one were to remake this movie, I think you would want to hand the script to a woman.
Yes.
I mean, it'll be interesting to find out what the deal is with the musical when I'm able to either see it or do something else. Bootlegging is bad, kids. Don't ever do bootlegging.
Bootlegging will continue until the stock of pro shots improves.
But they did get Marco Panette to do the book for the new musical. So I don't know about that. They do have at least one woman on the score, Julia Madison, but I'm not sure.
But from what I know, they took a lot of, like, Liesel's backstory from, like, the deleted scenes, and they put it in the musical. So I'm interested to see, like, how that plays out.
Yeah. They also changed it, and now she's Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams? Alright, Viola Van.
Yeah. Being played by Michelle Williams, former member of Destiny's Child.
Oh, that.
Good for her.
Sure.
Yeah. There, like I said, there is something to this movie, you know, something, the vanity of Hollywood, something, you know, the violence inherent to female friendships, something, the misogyny and ageism of society towards Hollywood starlets and what have you. But it's a black comedy, so it doesn't want to say too much about any of these things. It just sort of wants to poke at those ideas.
Yeah, like, there is kind of a moment of sympathy for Meryl when she's getting rejected by her boy toy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you kind of got to give that more to Meryl than anything else.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also the throwaway line of, like, during the musical where everyone is rocking out, someone says, Madeline Ashton, talk about coming back from the dead.
See what I did there? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
Get it? It's a movie about death. Or the lack thereof, really.
Yeah. This movie is a I support women's wrongs movie.
Oh, for sure. Honestly, if this movie were just 2 hours of Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn as immortals fighting, it would be perhaps the greatest film ever made.
Literally, I think that's what I wanted.
Yes.
I think I just want these two being catty bitches for all of time, actually. That's what the movie, after they should have let Ernest go, and then the rest of the movie is just them being catty bitches over the centuries.
God.
That should have...
Showing up at different funerals, smack talking the dead people.
If there isn't like a couple hundred of these on AO3, then the internet was a mistake. I mean, it already was, but I need to see this shit on fanfiction. Like, I don't read much fanfiction, not out of a snobbery thing. It's just a attention span thing. But I will dedicate myself to reading fanfic if there is some good shit about this.
Okay, I'm getting ready to disappoint you.
There isn't, is there?
There are exactly 37 Death Becomes Her fanfics on AO3 right now.
And
let me guess, they all suck.
I don't know. I haven't read them.
Well,
please tell me it's not like crossovers with, like, where they
hang on. Lesbian.
Okay.
Lesbian.
I mean, I found one where
lesbian.
Okay,
I mean,
the kids are all right.
No, well, so here's my thing, is I was searching it, and some of the first handful that I found were, alright, so we got Baldur's Gate 3, we got RuPaul's Drag Race RPF, We got Final Fantasy VII. We got the Terror from 2018 mashed up with Terry Pratchett's Discworld.
What?
Okay, all of those things are awesome. Okay, are these Death Becomes Her crossovers?
No, they're just titles that use the term Death Becomes Her.
Oh,
one of them is so the Terror Discworld Terry Pratchett one is basically, so the Terror is about a doomed Arctic ship exploration.
Oh yeah,
and
The
basically
Franklin expedition.
yeah.
And basically has the meaning Discworld's death.
Oh, that's perfect. Someone please tell my friend British Sarah about that. I collect Sarahs. I know so many Sarahs, so I have to distinguish them. British Sarah, who incidentally is a former Disney animator and is currently working on a graphic novel series. Look it up. It's called The Worst Journey in the World, and it is an adaptation of one of the journals of one of those failed Antarctic expeditions. But so she's super into anything Arctic, Antarctic, etc. But so that
she would love the Puppet History episode of like the race to the Antarctic.
So I first became friends with British Sarah because I ran into her Terry Pratchett fan art. So that fanfic is so violently coded toward this friend of mine.
I will send the link post-recording, but the other one that I was going to mention
Please God,
is
yes.
The next one underneath it is a Star Wars one, where Padme finds herself waking up after she died. Apparently her husband couldn't bear to let her go. She is not grateful at all.
Oh,
and
God.
one of the tags is Force Zombie.
Send it to me. Shit, this is my shit. Send it to me.
I will send both of those fics after we're done recording.
Christ on a bike.
We got way off track.
Oh yeah, probably, yeah. So someone, and that was actually definitely me, opened the fanfic hole, and now we live there.
The inherent lesbian eroticism of wanting to kill your ex-bestie.
The inherent eroticism of frenemies.
The inherent
eroticism of having a female friend or like female acquaintance who you can't tell if you want to make out with them or if you want to kill them.
As Ellie would say, toxic lesbians.
So, question. Where do you think they found her finger? When they mention at the end something about that time Madeline's finger broke off, where do you think it was?
Inside.
In someone's soup.
Oh, I was gonna say inside a shark, but you know what? I think yours is funnier.
I'm surprised neither of you went for the lesbian option, but oh well.
Look, no, it's not my place.
They're too repressed to fuck nasty about it. It would fix them, ostensibly.
No. I object to that. They have definitely been fucking nasty for the 37 years in the time before
especially
the
since
epilogue.
They were painting each other's asses.
Yeah, like for sure. Have they been doing it well? Probably not. They might not even know how. They might not even know that they have been. But this is because they're both morons.
Yeah, I think Sabrina Carpenter might have tapped into this the most with her Taste video.
Yeah, Taste does feel like a spiritual successor to this.
Well, it directly references this at points.
Even though that song is the most heterosexual song in existence.
Hey, fellas, is it gay to be heterosexual?
I've got so many mixed opinions about Sabrina Carpenter, but that's neither here nor there.
I am tangentially aware that she exists.
Valid, I wish that were me.
Oh my god, Sabrina Carpenter is kind of like the substance of Madeline Ashton.
You're right, but you shouldn't say it.
Oh my god.
I know what I'm about, son.
You broke us.
Did the substance ruin your brain chemistry? Quick question.
Joke's on you, I didn't have any brain chemistry left to ruin.
Oh my god. One of my favorite things, as I have to ask this right before we get truly into the weeds about other things. So that psychiatric sequence, which, like, woof. Whose backlot is that psychiatric hospital on? Because it's the same one from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm fairly certain I have seen it in, like, 3 other things.
Hey, if it's a good set, just reuse it.
Yeah, but, like, whose backlot is it on? Who does it actually belong to?
I don't think I want to know because everyone will just go there.
But it's how I feel about the fucking, the psychiatric ward that gets used in CW shows all the time.
Oh my god, you're right.
Because there's one psychiatric word for CW shows. It was used by Supernatural. It was used by Legends of Tomorrow. I'm fairly
Legends,
certain
my
Riverdale
beloved.
used it.
Yes, Riverdale has used it multiple times.
Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
I think
three.
It
There's
pops up
three.
in, like, season 1 of Supernatural. They're like, we're in Illinois. And I'm like, you're in Vancouver. I know exactly which psychiatric hospital set you're using.
There's 3 places to film in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And the CW uses all of them multiple times per episode.
Yeah. Legends, my beloved.
God, Legends was so good. But we should probably talk more about Death Becomes Her, even though I now want to spend 2 hours talking about Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Me at all times.
I cannot introduce you to Ellie and Addie. It will never end.
I've already convinced Jazz to do one of the episodes of Legends on her pod because the Helen of Troy episode is loosely based on the Iliad.
No.
Okay.
No.
Hey,
and she said yes.
River, can you +1 me into this pod, please? Because I want to have this discussion.
So let's take a moment. Let's talk about the original ending. So in the original ending, Ernest was going to meet a character played by Tracy Ullman. They would have a meet cute, and then we'd skip forward 27 years. So this would technically be in, I think, 2009.
I hate the passage of time. Proceed.
Yeah, we're not about that life.
But anyway, everybody's in Switzerland, and Helen and Madeline are sitting at a cafe terrace, and Helen asks, do you want to go to London? And Madeline goes, again. Helen asks, do you want to go to Paris? Madeline says, I don't care, and they're just bored. They're totally bored. And they look over, they see an old couple that they think are pathetic, and, like, Helen technically doesn't mean it because, acting and whatever. And it turns out the couple is Ernest and the new love of his life, Tracy Ullman's character.
Tony.
Yeah. And, it's, I guess audiences, even in the 90s, could not handle a little, pathos or catharsis or whatever the right word is. I've lost all sense of my dramatic training. What is happening to me?
It's okay. Words are just suggestions, like pants.
Truly. I think the thing is that, like, this is supposed to be if we are tied to genre convention, that's a bad black comedy ending. That has the same energy as, like, that is the equal and opposite energy of the OG Heathers ending of blowing up the school and ending up doing prom in heaven.
That's actually like one of the original proposed endings. Like, Madeline and Helen were originally going to steal a car from one of the guests at Lisa's party to chase after Ernest, and they accidentally drop off a cliff, crash into a huge explosion, and then they get out from the wreckage and they're just charred skeletons.
Yeah, I think that, like, the ending they come to, where they are shattered into a million pieces and still trying to go about their lives, that's the better ending per genre convention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I also just think it's funnier.
Yeah. You kind of want to end, like, if you're trying to end a scary movie on one last jump scare, you end a comedy on one last comic gag.
Yeah, I think I think the way, like, I think the catharsis of the ending, or pathos, whatever the word you were looking for earlier, Sam, in this ending, I think, like, the ending that we do have, it does establish the kind of moral of the story. It does establish that Ernest did get a happy ending, lived his life to the fullest. He learned the lesson of the film, and so on. But then it shows it shows Helen and Madeline kind of thinking that they're above it, and then immediately basically falling to their own foibles. So I think the ending that we do have kind of hammers the point of the film home. Yeah, the ending that
we do have is an I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards ending.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm a firm believer, completely unironically, a firm believer in that principle. Subtext is for fools and byproduct of inbreeding.
I also love, we gotta do one last huck the dummy down several flights of stairs.
Yeah.
We get another dummy downstairs bit. Yeah,
They spent money on those dummies, god damn it, and they're going to
huck them down some stairs.
Yeah. Also, the ending, going back to what I said earlier, feels like a Frank Oz ending, and this movie is just aggressively a Frank Oz movie, even though Frank Oz didn't make it.
And it like mirrors like the beginning of the movie where they have that playbill cover of Madeline on the floor in front of the theater, and now her head is in front of the church entrance. So I guess
Oh my
for the
God.
end,
I didn't put that together. Is your neck just jacked from carrying around your brain? I didn't notice that.
I also love the sound effects on Goldie Hawn's head having to like jump and bounce into screen. That's
It's
a
like
funny
metal.
sound effect.
It's like a metal rolling sound.
Yeah.
Both of these women had Oscars at this point.
yes.
It's incredible. It is also funny that I don't think I'd ever seen Goldie Hawn in anything. I was just like looking at her and I'm like, why do I recognize her? And then I realized that I've watched Seven Brides for Fun and Profit by Cole Crash Pictures one too many times, and she is in Overboard, and that is the other movie in that video.
Yeah, I haven't seen Goldie Hawn in a lot either, and part of that is that she made an active choice to kind of pull back from stuff, and I think the last big thing she did was the Christmas Chronicles with her longtime partner Kurt Russell.
Yes.
I mostly know her from First
my family.
Wives Club.
My family loves the Christmas Chronicles. Like mostly the first one, but we do enjoy the second one too. Find yourself someone who loves you as much as my dad loves the Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell.
Do I have to put those on my podcast?
Wait, which one's your podcast again?
Straights aren't all right.
Mine is The Straights Aren't Alright, a podcast where I gather a bunch of queers together, make them watch straight rom-coms, and try to answer the question, are the straights, like, okay?
Oh, no, the Christmas Chronicles isn't a rom-com, though.
Okay, thank God.
In this case, the straights are not
it's
okay.
cute, though.
They are apocalyptic, and they're not as straight as they think they are.
In
The
which
straights
case,
need to
all
be
the
sent to an
cases.
asylum, and maybe that would fix them. Except, no, the fuck it didn't.
They were. It's called Earth. So way earlier, I did notice a joke earlier in the movie, like toward the beginning of the movie, that I had never noticed before, and that is when when Madeline's at the like kind of is like, what do you call it, the aesthetic clinic? What do you call that? Where they do like the
esthetician.
esthetician. So Anne, the girl she's talking to, like, I never noticed this before, but, she's kind of doing most of the conversation in this kind of outrageous French accent, but then she drops it and becomes American when her boss shows up. And so, like, just the idea that she's just kind of putting on the accent as a show for the guests, I just thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah. The whole prospect of, like, oh, this whole fucking thing is fake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everything about this is fake.
Yeah, another level of artificiality to Hollywood.
This is not quite it's definitely in the rankings of I got nothing but love for the concept of Hollywood, but I can't stand LA.
Yeah. That wonderful genre of productions of how much Hollywood hates Hollywood.
Yeah, the subgenre of how much Hollywood loves movies and movie making.
I mean, honestly, I do prefer Hollywood movies about how much they hate Hollywood. I generally find those way better than movies about making movies. But
Yeah.
that's just because that's might be my least favorite genre outside of like white guy learns about racism.
The problem with movies like these is that they're so paternalistic in their behold the folly of woman and her vanity. It's like,
Women be shopping.
we're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, it's not also just because of them falling over each other, because they literally are falling apart because they cannot get over their hatred for each other. They keep going at it with each other, and like, wait, I had a thing about it here in my notes. Where was it? they're constantly like one-upping each other. They're driven by hatred and jealousy, and they keep blaming each other, even when they're like forced to live with each other and pay each other's asses. And it just makes them unhappy. And there's really no point to that, especially when they have to depend on each other to survive.
Yeah, it's just... It's not fun. It's patronizing, and it's frustrating.
The thing is that it can be fun if you wake up one morning and decide that you're gonna huck out your critical thinking hat and just vibe with the movie for what it is.
If I were going to huck out my critical thinking hat, then I couldn't have a podcast.
Yeah, but like that was where I was going, Sam. But unfortunately for us, not to the level that Ellie's thinking cap is chronically welded onto her head and something fucked up along the way. But for the rest of us, where it's kind of tied on and with complicated knots that we really can't find a sword big enough to cut them off.
I mean, speak for yourself. I'm dumb as shit, and I know it.
I keep telling people that, and I keep telling my friends that I'm not gonna have opinions about things, and then I end up having opinions about things, and I'm like, oh god fucking damn it. I'd like to
not a non-professional opinion haver.
I am a professional opinion haver. I got a degree in it. I have a degree in cinema media.
Are you getting paid for it?
Unfortunately, not yet. Donate to the Patreon. Donate
Get
to
in
the
the
Patreon.
comments, people.
Get in the comments. Dropout, hire me. I have very reasonable rates. I'll move across the country, except I won't live in LA, so that kind of dampens my prospects.
Look, I think we can all agree that, at the very least, one thing this movie absolutely has going for it is contributing to drag culture. Because
1,000%.
There
is a movie about
drag queens who have cited this as some kind of influence, like Jinx Monsoon, for one.
That's wonderful. I actually didn't know that. Despite my fondness for drag, I pay very little attention to actual, like, drag things.
Which just makes me wonder, Jinx Monsoon at the moment is, like, prepping for the Pirates of Penzance revival, but I have to wonder what Jinx thinks about the Death Becomes Her musical.
I think Jinx Monsoon was the first one in line to see it.
I just think these bitches should go to therapy. Or
they already did. It
did, and it didn't work out very well.
Or seize the means of production, either or.
Seize the means of production for, like, immortality potions?
Why not?
No, we can't do that, because remember there are, like, exercises arguing that if you made everybody immortal, then nobody would die, and we'd deplete the resources, and everybody would be miserable, and, go read Tuck Everlasting.
Or go watch Torchwood's Miracle Day.
I'd rather not, thank you. I have...
Not to be a Jack Harkness fan on Maine, but that show did fuck me up.
No, it is always fine. It's always fun. Yeah, it's always fine to be a Jack Harkness fan. Not necessarily, but I will slightly judge you a little bit for being a Torchwood fan. There's a difference.
Oh, baby, my guy, did you not see my Discord URL? It is quite literally Torchwood 3.
Oh my god, you're right.
I got introduced to Torchwood at the ripe grade of 9th grade. There was no hope for me. But yeah, I love the floating nuns in the morgue.
Oh god, I missed that.
It was a deleted
Yeah, there are just 3 floating nuns!
Wait, what?
As he goes by!
In the hospital morgue, because apparently there was a deleted scene where the nuns were in the morgue to identify the body of a priest.
Huh.
Yeah, but they don't walk, they just sort of float.
Okay, but that's actually how nuns get around. They have anti-gravity powers.
If I had a nickel for every movie I was on a pod that had nuns in it, I have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. At least these guys aren't Deus Ex nuns.
Deus Ex nuns?
Ask me about go listen to the Only You episode on my podcast.
Oh boy.
But the general vibe of this movie, I think I'm sitting another movie on the shelf of this movie sits on the same library shelf, if not the same book tonally. This movie, Handshake Rocky Horror Picture Show, Handshake Clue, Handshake the OG Beetlejuice, little bit.
I can see that. Yeah, it has that late 80s, early 90s horror comedy vibe.
Irreverent horror comedy about death with some catty capitalistic bitches.
Here's hoping that musical goes better than the musical with the stripey guy did.
Wait, did something go wrong with the Beetlejuice musical?
Oh no.
We don't have time to get into that, and nobody say the name again.
Someone say it again, but not me.
You're so smart. Stand up, bro. I'll think about your offer. Let you know.
Okay,
one of my friends just met Alex Brightman, yesterday, and I'm mad.
Yeah.
Well,
Alright,
I actually mostly know him as the Pug on Dead End Paranormal Park.
Dead End!
God, yes, Dead End is my villain origin story.
So at this point, I think it's time to ask, is the Force with it?
I think the real question is, have you ever heard the legend of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Oh my god, Emil!
I
Please help, you're my only hope.
Okay, so it's not necessarily my favorite flavor of ice cream, but it's got good bones, and I had fun seeing Meryl and Goldie ham it up, so I'll say yes.
I say yes with an asterisk. Yes with a footnote.
So I've already established that this is one of my favorite movies, but I am willing to be critical about the areas where it falls short and where it is aged less gracefully. But no, the Force is still with it, even though there are things we can criticize about it.
Yeah, I'll put it as a no, but this is a movie that I think you need to either be watching with the understanding that it's so bad it's good and you can riff it, or you're making a drinking game out of it. But yeah, I'm not gonna turn it on again, because apart from a spattering of memes, it's not quite there for me yet. Maybe the musical will be different, but for me, Force is not with it.
To quote a Letterboxd user, this probably set feminism back about 40 years, but they're serving so much cunt, I simply cannot care.
Okay, who has Pluggables?
You can find me on BlueSky at Dreams Rebel, on my own website, blog.filmlion.online, where I'm doing the Great MCU Rewatch. And you can find me as the host of my own podcast, The Straights Aren't All Right, the pod where I gather a bunch of queers together, make them watch straight rom-coms, and try to answer the question, are the straights, okay? We just put out an episode on Only You, and we are finalizing the votes for the next movie. And you can find that wherever pods are cast, or on BlueSky at aren'tallrightpodcom. All one word.
So I'm Emil Lewis. You can find me on BlueSky at Emperor Holly, but I'm mostly there to just be mad about things. So I'm not as entertaining on there as I would like to be. So I have a show I'm working on, but it's not anywhere close to complete. I do, however, work with some friends to make short comedy nonsense on YouTube. You can find us at Not Even Comedy. And because I mentioned her earlier in the show, I am going to plug my friend Sarah Aris here and her graphic novel, The Worst Journey in the World. You can find more about that at worstjourney.com.
And you can find me on the Online Muse on Tumblr. I do all the title cards and graphics for both this podcast and our sister podcast, in each retelling. If anyone wants me to make a fan cast for a potential Death Becomes Her remake, you can hit me up.
And in the spirit of Star Wars, to be there for the people who need us, this episode's mutual fund spotlight goes to Buy in Solidarity's fund for Rumeysa Öztürk. In March of 2025, Rumeysa, a Fulbright scholar from Turkey on a valid student visa at Tufts University in Somerville, Massachusetts, was seized by plainclothes ICE agents. And while we now know that she's being held in a Basile, Louisiana detention center, her incarceration, like that of hundreds of others in the United States who have been disappeared by ICE, is unjust, and this fund will provide her some measure of financial security, including paying for her housing and legal fees. The link can be found in the description for this podcast, as well as on my various socials under my new handle, Demisem. Our theme music is provided by Refractory Period, the two girls, one beat synth pop sensation. You can follow them on Instagram at Refractory Period, the band. To further support this podcast, please subscribe to us on your platform of choice, leave reviews, and share with your friends to boost our visibility, and consider joining our Patreon. Shami, before I roll our chance cube,
you are a knight of the Order of 6 Degrees of Star Wars. You have been on more than 10 episodes, so you have the chance to force a roll and pick the degree of the movie we are going to watch next. Would you like to use that now?
Well, considering, Ellie has done black magic for, like, the past little while, and strange things have been happening since we forced 2s. So, I am going to go with 3.
It is a 3, so that means our next episode is going to be the original Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah!
Nice!
I'll take movies that rewrote my childhood brain chemistry for 200, Alex!
We will see you all next time to cover this animated classic. Until then, stay safe, stay strong, stay beautiful, and may the Force be with you.